we're celebrating this day. We and because we want to talk to Yah and thank him for this atonement that he made.
Yeah.
But now we're about to go in a little deeper. I'm going to go over the things that I didn't get to go over in Bible study that I wanted to go over, but due to the time. Um, so that's what we're doing now.
Okay.
Yes.
And you don't mind me being a part?
Of course not. I sent you the link.
Oh, you sent me a link?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. You text it or you sent it to my email?
I texted it in a group text.
Okay. Can you please record? This is my only favorite. This is old. And oh, maybe it's not. Love HTTP, whatever that is.
It should be like one of the last texts you got.
Yeah, so it's not that good. I did that. Okay, maybe this says love. Okay, that could probably be it. Let's see.
Oh yeah, because Rose, yeah.
What happened?
Okay,
Huh? Why are you whispering? Huh? Let's draw it. First drawer? Yeah, first drawer. Honey. Huh? Huh? Mommy. Yay! Fine, yes. Huh?
Hmm. Okay.
Does it look like?
Okay. Never mind, David. Come back. Yeah, Joe.
Just stop messing it with it for now.
Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I want to start.
You don't want to start yet?
I do. Okay. All right. Let's start over again.
Okay.
So
Speak unto the. Do I start reading?
yes, and Yah spake unto Moses, saying,
Okay. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts.
okay, read the next one.
6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, and the holy convocation.
Where we going?
It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings.
Okay, so you know what that means? It says 6 days work should be done, but in the seventh, it's a Sabbath. So that's why today I said it was a Sabbath day. So it's not like the days on the seventh day, which is Friday night to Saturday night. but it's still considered a Sabbath. And like we talked about earlier, it's a holy convocation, meaning it's a dress rehearsal, a time we practice for some event that's going to happen. And then it says, "You shall do no work." And it says it's the Sabbath of Yah in all your dwellings. You know what that means? Wherever you live. Yep.
Like wherever you are, wherever you live, you shall do.
Yep. Some people are in a house, some people in an apartment, some people are on an RV, some people are even in the street. It says the Sabbath, it's a Sabbath in all your dwellings.
And also, some people know yeah that we haven't met and have
Yes, that's right.
like our friends.
Mhm.
They go to a church.
Yeah, read.
Okay. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 4. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in the season.
Okay. So this is another reason why this is another reason why I tell everybody about these days when it comes.
So those holy convocations.
Yep.
And that's
See what it says? It says, "Which ye shall proclaim," meaning you're supposed to tell other people in their seasons, meaning when the season comes, we're supposed to let people know.
and so they can tell people and they can tell people and it keeps
Exactly.
happening.
Exactly.
And I know that, Benji.
No, that's a good point because some people forget that. If you tell somebody and that person begins to do it, then they might tell somebody else, and they might tell somebody else.
Then we just need to do it one. We just need to tell one person.
Yeah. So you can tell whoever you can,
But
and then other people gonna find out about it.
uh, but like some people might not believe us.
That's okay.
But like but but then they will see that they're supposed to listen to us because uh uh that's why God made us, because so we can tell people about him.
That's right. Um, some people might not listen, and in verse 4 it says we're supposed to proclaim. That means we're supposed to let everybody know about these appointed times. But when we tell people, sometimes they're not going to listen. So what do you do when they don't listen?
You just tell another person.
You just tell another person.
But
Yeah.
if all the bad people believe, then everyone will be good.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Hey, Risha.
Huh?
Looks like Risha just joined.
Who's Risha? Oh, I remember.
What's up, Risha?
Hey, where?
Well, um, so so we already talked about.
What's up? I can't really hear you guys, so I'm trying to fix it.
Huh?
Oh, okay. So let's keep going.
Okay.
Um,
Can you put the square on the? You mean Mr. Donald's?
yeah.
Okay. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover.
Oh, we already skipped the. Hold on.
Oh.
We we I don't want to read that part. We're going to go to the part where it talks about Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur.
So now we're at verse 26.
Verse 26. Also the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of the 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord.
Okay, so today is the 10th day of the 7th month. So I think I got a picture up. I want to show you. So
what's the date, Mommy?
on the Hebrew calendar, we're not talking about our calendar, though. We're talking about the Hebrew calendar.
Okay.
So if you on this, you see this, it's like a circle of 12 Hebrew months. And the month that we're in right now is called Tishri.
Tishri.
And
Tishri, the
yes,
Yeah, but what's this one?
I don't like the star part, but
In the five,
Yeah, I know, I
seven.
know.
but there's also a Hebrew a Hebrew name. So Tish is a Babylonian name, but there's also a Hebrew name as well.
You mean like these are all the Sabbath days?
These are all the Hebrew months.
Oh, you mean the months until it's the Sabbath days?
So just like
But they use something.
every month we have like January, February, March, April, May. Well, in Hebrew, there's also 12 months in Hebrew too, and they have Hebrew names.
And
So,
these are those are the Babylonian names.
well, Nissan is not Babylonian.
These sound like a car company.
So, but I don't see Tishri in here.
But
So I'm a little. Hold on, hold on.
right
I'm a little.
there.
Where? Where
It's
do you see it?
it's upside down right there.
Right across the
Oh, this
side.
is it right here.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
upside down.
Okay. So yeah, these are the Babylonian names. So what happened when the children of Israel was exiled, and they meaning they got uh not just kicked out, they got captured
Captured.
by
Seized.
Babylon. Babylon came, their army came, and so they ended up living in Babylon, and they spent so much time in Babylon that they took on the Babylonian ways. And one of the things that they came back to Israel with was the names of the Babylonian months. And so I don't like to use these names, but not all 12 months are in the Bible. At least I haven't been able to find them all. So that's why sometimes you'll see, like what we just read, you'll see the 10th day of the seventh month, but it doesn't say the actual name.
Like um the the months of the Sabbath
Mhm.
still take long.
It's 30 days. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading. So it shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls and offer an offering made by fire unto Yah. So a lot of people, what they do on this day is they fast. And some people will say, uh,
So you're fast.
I don't need to fast, or I can do something else. I can do whatever, but I want to show you why people associate afflicting the soul with fasting. So in the book of Isaiah 58, this is just one example. Um, all right, it says, "Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily and delight to know my ways as a nation that did righteousness and forsook not the ordinance of their God. They ask of me the ordinances of justice. They take delight in approaching to God." So today that's what we do today. We're approaching him. In fact, the high priest, that's what they would do today. This was in the holy of holies. The high priest would go into the temple and they would meet with God. They could only do that one day of the year, and that was today, Yom Kippur. It says, "Wherefore have we fasted, or why have we fasted? Say they, and thou seest not. Wherefore, or why have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge?"
I know.
So here you can see that afflicting afflicting the soul and fasting are associated with each other. So this is one of the reasons why you see the children of Israel or Israelites in general, they fast on today.
You mean
So let's go back. I'm gonna read it. It says, "And ye shall do no work in the same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before Yah your Elohim. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted, in that same day he shall be cut off from among his people."
You mean like when if you do work on this day, it's like you're just forgetting God, you're done with the Bible, and you don't care about him.
Yeah, if you don't, the scripture says if you don't afflict your soul, that you're to be cut off. That means you're to be separated from among the people of Israel.
No, I mean like you're doing work.
If you do work, um, that's also
Forgetting about him.
bad. Look, this is what the next verse says. It says, "And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people." So that was the consequence. That was the consequence for doing work on this day. I'm going to just one second. I'm going to uh disconnect for a second from my phone.
But does this say, Lord?
Actually, no. Hey, Ty, can you hear me okay? Is everything fine? Is it or is it going real slow?
Everything's fine. We were just walking in the house. You were on the phone and on the TV. So if it was acting up, it was because I had to hang up the phone.
It's not TV.
Okay. I'm just making sure. Okay. No. So now I'm gonna go to the book of Hebrews. I really wanted to read this last week, but I didn't get to, because this whole chapter is talking about Yom Kippur, but it's talking about Yom Kippur in light of what Christ has done for us now.
Every
That's just you just listen and we'll see.
you mean like everything he does for us, we're supposed to thank him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Hebrews chapter 9, verse 1. It says, "Now the first covenant also had regulations for ministry and an earthly sanctuary." So this first covenant that is talking about is not talking about the covenant that Yah made with Abraham. This is talking about the covenant that Yah made with Moses. Because we see in verse 2, it says, "For a tabernacle was set up, and in the first room, which is called the holy place, were the lampstand, the table, and the presentation loaves." It's called the table of showbread. It's so it was saying there was an earthly sanctuary. Yah has a heavenly sanctuary, but there's also the earthly sanctuary that was made during the time of the first covenant, meaning not the first covenant of Abraham, but the first covenant with Moses. That's right. And so it tells you in verse 2, it says the tabernacle was set up. The tabernacle is basically the tent that it was called the tent of meeting. That's where Yah met Moses and Aaron. Yep.
So because they made the the what? They made the what? The you stop listening.
So it says, and the tabernacle was set up in the first room. It was the holy place. You had the lampstand, the table, and the presentation of loaves. Presentation loaves. It was the bread.
Yeah.
It says behind the second curtain was a tent called the most holy place.
Is it holy bread or
Yes.
oh.
So in verse 4, it says, it had the gold altar of incense and the ark of the covenant covered with gold on all sides, in which was a gold jar containing the manna, Aaron's staff that budded, and the tablets of the covenant. So look and see what it had. It's the gold altar that was there, and that behind listen first. Behind the second curtain was a gold altar of incense. That's where they would offer the prayers. The ark of the covenant
Was made of gold.
made out of gold as well, covered with gold on all sides, and which was inside of there was a gold jar. I didn't realize that till just today, just seeing that. It was a golden jar containing manna, Aaron's staff that budded. Remember, Aaron had a staff, and on that staff, it was uh, growing leaves, even though it wasn't connected to anything. And it says, and the tablets of the covenant. So the tablets of the covenant is the Ten Commandments. And what was written, what basically the terms of the covenant before Moses was given the law, the Torah, after the children of Israel sinned with the golden calf. So that was what's inside. Then it says the cherubim of glory were above the ark over. You have to stop talking. I can't hear when you're talking. It says the cherubim of glory were above the ark, overshadowing the mercy seat. So the cherubim, remember, on top of the ark of the covenant was two angels, and they were cherubim, and they were overshadowing, meaning they were covering. They were covering the mercy seat. So you asked me earlier, what does atonement mean? And I gave you one definition. Well, a second definition for atonement is cover, to cover. So that's what was happening here. The angels were covering.
You mean that's the second of however you say it, of the covenant?
Yes.
That's the second one?
No.
Oh.
That's the Yeah, you're right. That's the second one. But it's a different type of ark. It's not the same kind of ark as Noah and the ark.
And
It's a different one.
and the mercy seat is no, I mean like
Hold on.
the first,
What?
yeah, the first ark of the covenant.
No, it's not the ark. It's not the first ark. It's a different ark. Okay.
So what's the mercy seat?
The mercy seat is this covering over the ark of the covenant.
You mean
It was like they called it a mercy seat because it was like a seat. It represents the throne of Yah. It's also how we obtain mercy. We got mercy because the blood was thrown on the mercy seat, and that's how atonement was made. That's how our sins were forgiven.
you mean in on the that tone of the seat is Moses' stuff and also
Aaron's staff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the cherubim of glory being above the ark, we also see the cherubim by the presence of Yah somewhere else. Where else do we see the cherubim? In a sense, covering the
You
presence.
mean like not in this place? Not in
Yes.
this scripture?
Yes.
Oh, they're surrounding God on his throne. Like they are like, I don't know why, but it's like they're protecting him. But they don't need to. They don't have to, but they're surrounding him.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So there's two places that came to my mind. One of them is what you're talking about, Ezekiel, which I think I have it right here, Ezekiel 10. So let's go there first. I'm just gonna text Donald real quick
I know.
because he told me he wanted to talk about something that we're about to talk about. So he needs to hurry and get on.
Well, that joker need to get on. You know that, Zadi.
Yep. Okay.
There's no reason for me to mute it.
Yeah, you're good. So Ezekiel 10:1. It says,
honey.
Then I looked, and behold, in the firmament that was above the head of the cherubims, there appeared over them, as it were, a sapphire stone, as the appearance of the likeness of a throne. So
Is it the blood when Jesus died, or
we're not there yet. We're gonna be there, but not yet. So Ezekiel, he says he sees a firmament. What's the firmament? The firmament is the sky, right? It's the
It's the
heaven.
same firmament as in Genesis.
Yes, it is.
I haven't studied that. I want to.
So he looks up above. He's obviously looking up above because the firmament would be above him. And it says above the head of cherubims. So now we're seeing cherubims again. We saw cherubims at the mercy seat, which covered the presence of Yah. Now we see them again, cherubim above that appeared over them, as it were, a sapphire stone in the appearance of the likeness of a throne. So, as I was saying earlier, the mercy seat is like a throne. And when Ezekiel is seeing this vision, he's seeing cherubim, and then he's seeing sapphire stone. You can imagine it would be like a beautiful bluish type of royal color and appearance like a throne. So we're seeing the same thing. That Ark of the Covenant and that mercy seat is symbolic of the actual thing that exists in heaven. And we'll see, we're about to see that later too. And then it says, and he spake unto the man clothed with linen and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill thine hand with coals of fire from between the cherubims, and scatter them over the city. And he went in my sight. This reminds me of something. I didn't even think about this till now. Remember Isaiah? He said, in the year Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. And then eventually Isaiah says, "Woe is me! I'm a man of unclean lips, and I dwell amongst the people of unclean lips." And then the angel came and got a coal.
He put it on his lips.
Put it on his lips. And after he put the coal on his lips, then he was clean enough to now stand in Yah's presence and be okay. And so I'm noticing here now Ezekiel is seeing this vision or whatever this is. He's seeing this and he's seeing the throne, but now we see coals again. Fill thy hand with coals of fire between the cherubim, and scatter them over the city. And we know the purpose of those coals was to make his lips clean, because he had unclean lips. And so purification. So now I'm just noticing, I didn't notice this when I was reading this before, but it says, and when it says the city, he's talking about Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
It says, now the cherubim stood on the right side of the house when the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court. Inside the inner court. So the cherubim stood on the right side of the house when the man went in the cloud and filled the inner court. So before we saw the appearance of a throne. So the cherubim are in the throne room, and we see that. But now it's talking about the cherubim stood on the right side of the house. Okay, then in verse 4 it says, then the glory of Yah went up from the cherub and stood over the threshold of the house. So now the cherub have moved.
Mm-hmm.
The glory of Yah went up. That means it left. It left where it was at. It was in the holy place where the throne room is, which is the type of the Ark of the Covenant. But now it's gone to the threshold, which is basically the doorway.
Mm-hmm.
It says, and the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was full of the brightness of Yah's glory. And the sound of the cherubim's wings was heard even to the outer court, as the voice of the Almighty God when he speaketh. And it came to pass that when he had commanded the man clothed with linen, saying, take fire from between the wheels, from between the cherubims, then he went in and stood beside the wheels. And one cherub stretched forth his hand from between the cherubims unto the fire that was between the cherubims, and took thereof and put it into the hands of him that was clothed with linen, who took it and went out. And there appeared in the cherubims the form of a man's hand under their wing. And when I looked, the four wheels by the cherubims, one wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by another cherub, and the appearance of the wheels was as the color of a beryl stone. So we're seeing these wheels because basically this is it's like a chariot that is taking the presence of Yah. It's taking it from one place to another place, but as that chariot is moving, the cherubim are covering. The cherubim are underneath. They're underneath the chariot, as if they are protecting the chariot, which houses Yah's presence, from whatever is below.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a protective layer. Like those angels are like, hey, nothing unholy is going to touch you. And as for their appearance, they four had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. When they went upon their four sides. They turned not as they went, but to the place whither the head looked, they followed it. They turned not as they went. And their whole body and their backs and their hands and their wings and the wheels were full of eyes round about, even the wheels that they four had. So this is like some strange looking stuff. Like if we were to, I've seen some people try to make pictures of this, and it's really crazy looking. Wheels, yeah, exactly. Wheels with eyes everywhere. And this
I've seen this.
Yeah. So I'm going to skip a few verses. It says in verse 14, and every one had four faces. The first face was the face of a cherub. The second face was the face of a man. And the third, the face of a lion. And the fourth, the face of an eagle. And the cherubims were lifted up. This is the living creature that I saw by the river Kabar. Hold on. So all of them Oh, I got 3 more verses. And when the cherubims went, the wheels went by them. And when the cherubims lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the same wheels also turned not from beside them. When they stood, these stood. And when they were lifted up, these lifted up themselves also, for the spirit of the living creature was with them. Then the glory of the Lord departed from off the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubims. So first, the glory of Yah, he was in the temple, he was in the holy of holies. Then he goes to the threshold. And now he's leaving the threshold, which is the doorway. He says, and the cherubims lifted their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight. And when they went out, the wheels also were beside them, and everyone stood at the door of the east gate. So now they're going to the eastern gate. So they're going, what's happening is the glory of Yah. He was in the most holy, then a little bit less holy, and now he's at the gate of the temple. He's going further and further away. And the reason this is happening, you got to read the chapters before this, but this is happening because of all the abominations that are being done in Jerusalem and in the temple. So I'm not, my goal is not to teach on this passage because this is a lot. But I just want you to make the connection of the cherubim. When you see these cherubim, this is the presence of Yah. They're protecting the presence of Yah.
You mean those? You mean those cherubims that I had on my Bible that broke?
Yes, that's right.
It's a trip because we know they're protecting. We know they're protecting the presence of Yah. Oh, hold on. I thought Benji's done. Sorry, Benji.
Yep.
So,
He has. Yep. Keep going.
I know that they're protecting the presence of Yah because that's what it says. But it's like Yah don't need no protection. But for part of it, for me, is like, what if they're protecting the world? Like they're covering him, but they're actually covering.
So we don't die.
So we don't die.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
that I'm so glad you said that, because
She thought she was gonna die.
that brings me to my next point.
Okay.
Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3. We see that were y'all saying something?
No, Abby's talking in the back and she's jacking up her words. That's all. Keep going.
Okay.
You straight.
So in Genesis chapter 3, we see the cherubim again. So it says, so the Lord God sent him away from the Garden of Eden to work the ground from which he was taken. He drove the man out.
Oh, okay. I see.
He drove the man out and stationed the cherubim and the flaming, whirling sword east of the Garden of Eden to guard the way to the tree of life. So the cherubim, we know they guard the presence of Yah. I mean, his Shekinah glory presence, but they also guard this way to the tree of life. And you know how this connects to what we were talking about, the word, and how there's a tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is the words and the ideas of the enemy. And then you have the tree of life, which represents the fruit thereof. It represents the words of Yah, the words, and we know that the Torah is a tree of life. We know that wisdom is a tree of life, and we know that the word is Yeshua. He is the word, and so it's as if these cherubim with these flaming swords, they're making sure nobody can get to the presence. That basically this garden is another temple. It's essentially a temple because that's where Yah is.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at the word Gan Eden in Hebrew, it literally is it literally means, when you're just putting the letters together, the presence of Yah, a delightful place.
Wow.
It's a moment or a spot for a moment, a spot for a moment. The presence of Yah, a delightful place. So wherever the Garden of Eden is, it's not just that it's a physical place. It's His presence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So of course His cherubim are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's to protect us, because He's guarding us from the tree of life. Because if we eat the tree of life, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
live forever in the sinful state, which would be
Mm-hmm.
miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. It might not just be that they're protecting Yah
Yeah.
from unholiness, but He's protecting us from Him
Yeah.
by using the cherubim.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The thing that touched Isaac's lips was called a seraphim, not an angel. It was a seraphim, not an angel.
A seraphim is a type of angel, just
Well,
like cherubim is a type of angel.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a seraphim.
Oh, it's a seraphim. Yeah, I didn't say it was a cherubim. I just was pointing out the coals.
I didn't say cherubim. I said seraphim.
I know, David. I heard you. Okay, let's keep going. Hebrews 9:5. It says, the cherubim of glory were above the ark, overshadowing the mercy seat. And then he says, it is not possible to speak about these things in detail right now. With these things prepared like this, the priests entered the first room, repeatedly performing their ministry. So every year the priests go into the holies of holies, and they have to perform their ministry. Means they're ministering on behalf of themselves, their family, and all of Israel. But the high priest alone enters the second room and does that only once a year, and never without blood, which he offers for himself and for the sins the people had committed in ignorance. That's another good point.
Mm-hmm.
The Yom Kippur, the sacrifice to atone for our sins, was only for sins that were committed in ignorance. They were not for willful sins.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
the person who thinks, I'm going to willfully sin and rebel against Yah, these sacrifices aren't for you. They don't. They're not. They wouldn't atone for you.
Oh, and can I have and that reminds me of the scripture. I think it's in Genesis. Let me look in my Bible. I got to plug in my computer before it dies. It says something to that effect. It says, "Don't think that you could say in your heart, oh, I can do this, and Yah won't see." It goes, "No, He'll not only see, but He'll destine you to wrath." It was something like that. But that's in Genesis. This is in another place in Scripture too. But that reminds me of that. It's not. It's ignorance is one thing. Willful is a totally different thing.
Yes, there's no sacrifice for willful sins. There's none. If you are willfully sinning, then there's nothing for you.
Yeah.
The only hope you have is to repent.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Never mind. Keep going.
So I used to like wonder, like, when I was reading scriptures like this, well, how about those times when I did things and I knew they were wrong?
Mm-hmm.
But so I thank Yah for the ability to repent,
Yes.
because if you don't repent, which Yom Kippur, this is what this all about. We need to be
Yep.
repenting. if you don't repent of your willful sins, as well as ask Yah to forgive you of the sins you've committed in ignorance, then
Yes.
you're gonna have some serious problems. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful that in our ignorance, because we have served Yah for a long time, but we've done a whole lot of things in ignorance. We've done a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sins in ignorance. So as we're going to see later in this verse, Christ's sacrifice, he atoned for our sins. It was a Yom Kippur sacrifice. So all those things that we have done in our ignorance and are still doing, we still do some things that we
Yeah.
don't know whether it's right because we're learning. So I thank Yah for that.
Yeah, me too.
It says in verse 8. All right, read, David. Verse 8.
The Holy Spirit was making it clear that the way into the most holy place had not yet been disclosed while the first tabernacle was still standing.
Yes. Yep. So he was this was a picture for the Israelites to let them know that the way to get into a holy place, it hasn't been revealed yet,
Mm-hmm.
because only one person can do it one time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the Holy Spirit was making clear with this earthly tabernacle, which the priest will go to once a year. Verse 9, this is a symbol for the present time during which gifts and sacrifices are offered that cannot make the worshipers or cannot perfect the worshipper's conscience.
What is that? What does that
So
verse mean?
so it means that every time the blood was spilled, every time the blood was put on the mercy seat, sprinkled on the mercy seat, that your conscience couldn't be made, it couldn't be cleansed. If you have a conscience that is evil, it's going to stay evil.
Mm-hmm. So it's temporary. It's a temporary atonement.
It's a temporary atonement, but even that temporary atonement, it couldn't do anything to your conscience.
Yes.
Whereas the blood of Christ could
Yes.
actually not only atone for you forever, it also could purge your conscience. So it's actually a blood that's alive, that's doing something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not dead blood, it's alive.
Yes.
It says in verse 10, they are physical regulations and only deal with food, drink, and various washings imposed until the time of the new order.
What does that verse
That means all of this is until the time where we can step into the Melchizedekian order.
Yep. Not the world
Get
order, the new
get
order.
get out of the Levitical priesthood order, and now we're in the order of Melchizedek.
Mm-hmm.
What does Melchizedek have to do with the whatever with the old with the order of what?
So remember Melchizedek. Remember we read about Melchizedek and Abraham,
Yeah.
and Abraham paid tithes to Melchizedek.
Yeah.
Melchizedek he was a priest.
And a king.
He is a king and a priest. That's right. And so since he is a king and a priest, he was was able to minister before Yah, and he was able to uh, perform sacrifices as well on behalf of the people. But the order of Melchizedek is the same order that Christ is under. See, the Levites, the Levites that were priests, whenever they offered a sacrifice, it was only temporary.
Temporary. What does that mean?
David, you know what temporary means.
No, I don't.
It only lasts for a little bit of time.
Oh.
The sacrifice that Melchizedek, being Christ, who was the last Melchizedek, lasts forever. So temporarily, and under the other order, the order of the Levitical priesthood, there was drinks and washings and regulations, like it says, meaning laws that you had to do until that order comes.
The new order.
Yeah. So
But
okay, so now we're in verse 11. This is the part I'm excited about. So, but Christ has appeared as a high priest of the good things that have come, in the greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is, not of this creation. So that's exactly what I was just saying. Christ, he is the high priest, but he is greater. He's in the greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands. That means not an earthly tabernacle,
heavenly.
a heavenly tabernacle.
Are they talking about his body in here? Hebrews chapter 9, verse 11. The greater and more perfect tabernacle.
I don't think so. Because let's keep reading and I'll show you why. Verse 12, it said, he entered the most holy place once for all time, not by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood, having obtained eternal redemption. So this is talking about a physical thing that happened. It says he entered the most holy place once for all time, not by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood, having obtained eternal redemption. So how did he enter the most holy place? Or when did he do that?
When did Yeshua enter the most holy place?
Yes.
When he died. Once for all time.
Give me one answer. I can't. When did he do that?
I feel like when he stood before the Sanhedrin.
When he
And
died.
When? Okay. Some people say when he died, and you said when he stood before the Sanhedrin. What are you talking about when he stood before the Sanhedrin? I don't remember.
When the priest rent his clothes and said,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and he was becoming a sacrifice.
Uh-huh.
That's when I think.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Okay.
Uh,
But you studied it, so
I'm yeah, but this is all just right before all this started. You
You
know,
don't need to think.
I didn't I am we're not preparing nothing. I just wanted to go through the scriptures.
hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So in John chapter 20. So Mary is at the sepulcher and she's weeping. Verse 11. So Christ had died, but he was risen. It says, I started verse 13. And they say unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? She said unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus or Yeshua. Yeshua said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, said unto him, Sir, if thou have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Yeshua said unto her, Mary. She turned herself and said unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. Yeshua said unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. That's what I think. It
So
says
that's when he's going to the most holy place, because we know that the throne of God, his actual throne, the ark is a symbol of that. So he's
yes,
going to that ark.
yes.
Don't touch me.
That's why she can't touch him.
Now I could not understand this until I had to really just read it again in detail, and then I think I was looking for a few teachings on it. I'm like, has anyone ever taught this? Because this was not making sense to me. Here he says, I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brother and say unto them, I ascend to my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. Now I kind of thought, well, is he talking about when he ascended, like, when he actually ascended?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case,
Mm-hmm.
because this is when Mary is talking to him,
Yes.
and she's like, he's revealing himself. She thinks he's the gardener. This is right after
Yes.
he had resurrected, and so he's still got about
Mm-hmm.
37, no, is it 37 or more? No, yeah, 37 more days left. And then to make it even more complicated, it says Mary Magdalene came and told his disciples that she had seen the Lord and that he had spoken these things unto her. Then right after this is the story about Thomas.
Doubting. And he let Thomas touch him.
Exactly.
That's what I was
Thomas.
thinking.
It says, then said he to Thomas, reach hither thy finger and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless but believing. So he just got busy telling Mary, don't touch me, and now Thomas, he's telling, please touch me. I'm like,
You know
what?
why I feel like though, Joe? Because Thomas is Kohanim.
No.
It's 8 days already.
No. It's much simpler than that.
8
Really?
It's look. I said you have to read this in detail.
Okay, read it. Read it. Don't tell us. Read it.
Look in verse 17 again.
I want to read this.
No, I want to read this. Yeshua said unto her, let's go to a better version. I thought I had this in the other version. Let's take it off King James for a second. So
I can read my CBDGD. I got it right here next to me. So it's John what?
20,
John
verse 17.
John 20, verse 17 says, verse 17, is this 20? Oh, no, it's still 19. 20, verse 17 says, verse 16 said, okay, stop holding unto me, Yeshua said to her. This one says, stop holding on to me, Yeshua said to her, because I haven't yet gone back to the Father, but go to my brothers and tell them that I'm going back to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God. And then it says, Miriam of Magdala went and told the Talmudim with the news that she had seen the Lord and that he had told her this.
Okay. I don't know if you caught it or not.
I gotta read it again.
I'm gonna read it in a different version now.
Okay.
It says, don't cling to me, Yeshua told her, since I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and tell them that I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and
all
your God.
right. So he didn't ascend when he was talking to Mary, but he ascended and then came back.
Yes.
So when he came back to meet all of them, he had already ascended because he knows Joker's going to try to touch him.
Yes. So Mary he says, Mary, don't touch me. I haven't ascended, but tell them I am. I am means I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
He may have been doing it as he was talking to Mary. And also he has a resurrected body. So this body's different.
Yeah.
He can be in multiple places at one time. This is quantum physics stuff. I don't
Yes.
know if he physically left so that to the point where she couldn't see him.
Yes.
You know, the scripture also says we are seated in heavenly places. Our spirits can ascend, but however it happened, you have to like look at the words like carefully. And I believe I even looked at this in Greek. It literally saying I am, like right now I'm ascending to my Father.
Oh
So
wow.
so that's what. So now when we go back to Hebrews chapter 9 and we ask ourselves, when did he enter the most holy place?
From the dead.
After
When
he
did he
rose
enter
from the
the?
dead,
Okay.
after he
So
met.
then, right?
After he
Wouldn't
Yeah.
it be then when he went to the Father?
When right when he was with Mary, right after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's when he went to the Father, that blood, he went to the holy place. And that had to happen because the earthly tabernacle isn't enough. It
Mm-hmm.
had to be done at the heavenly level.
Mm-hmm.
There's a let's keep reading because it's gonna go more into that. For if the blood of goats and bulls and the ashes of a young cow, sprinkling those who are defiled, sanctify for the purification of the flesh. So that was the point of the blood of the goats and the bulls and the ashes of the cow, is to purify and sanctify your flesh so that your body would be clean enough to be able to stand in his presence. It says, how much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish to Yah, cleanse our consciences from dead works so that we can serve the living Elohim. So the blood of Christ, through the power of the Spirit, he was offered without blemish. And like we read earlier, the blood of bulls and goats could not purify our conscience. It could not cleanse our conscience so we could serve him. But Christ's blood, it actually goes deeper. It can do
Yes.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole purpose of our conscience being cleared is so that we can actually serve him.
Mm-hmm.
We can't serve him with an evil, seared conscience,
Mm-hmm.
having a sin consciousness. We got to have a righteous conscience cleared and clean.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'll just keep having damnation on ourselves because verse 15. Therefore, he is the mediator of a new covenant, so that those who are called might receive the promise of the eternal inheritance, because a death has taken place for redemption from the transgressions committed under the first covenant. Okay, this is
15.
this is where I wanted it's where I needed Donald, because we were talking about this for like a long time last night. Like I need
Oh,
so he's the mediator of a new first let's look at that. What does mediator mean?
yeah, that's what I was looking in my Bible to see if it said the same thing. But it does. It says mediator. He's like the go-between.
Yes, a person who attempts to make people involved in a conflict come to an agreement, a go-between. Arbitrator, negotiator is a intervener, an interceder, middleman.
in
Intercessor.
Yes, those are synonyms for the word mediator. So he's the go-between, he's the one that is in the middle between us and the Father.
Mm-hmm.
So what?
So are you explaining what this verse means?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm just right now I'm just explaining what mediator is. So he's the
uh, com- oh,
Yeah, he's the mediator of a new covenant. So my question is, are we in this new covenant yet?
Yeah.
Of course.
We are.
We are in that new
Mhm.
covenant.
Are we sure about that?
I didn't hear that.
No. Yes.
We're in the covenant, in the new order of Melchizedek, because Christ died, and because we're followers of Him. That puts us in the new covenant. Okay, Joe, you gotta explain.
Okay. I'm just asking questions. I thought this is something we should all know. This should be solid.
I was like, when you ask a question like that, you make me feel like I get all self-conscious and stuff.
Well, let's read where it talks about this new covenant.
Hebrews.
I always, it's always easy to remember where it's at because it's easy. It's 31:31. That's where it talks about the new covenant. So that's how I remember it. Jeremiah 31:31.
Okay.
And this we won't be I don't have to go a long time, much longer, because I want to read this whole entire chapter. And so we might not go through. No,
I ain't going to work tomorrow.
Okay, nice. Well, never mind then.
You say
Eh?
it's not going to one?
Yes. You're not going to work either. And neither am I. Okay. Jeremiah 31, verse 1. At that time, I wanted to go just right to the new covenant part, but whenever I see scriptures about the wilderness and all that, I just love
Yes.
reading them. And
Yes.
it goes along with this whole new covenant thing.
Mhm.
So let me just read. At that time, this is Yah's declaration. By the way, whenever you see Lord, all capital letters, like all of them are capitalized,
Mhm.
that is Yahuwah. That or Yod He Vav He.
Okay.
Sometimes it would just be the L is capitalized, but all the other words, all the other letters are not capitalized. That Lord is Adonai.
Mm.
Just to let you know. The complete Jewish Bible, though, makes all the Lords Adonai.
Yep, it does. It
So
does.
that's way better than saying Lord, but it's
Yes.
still not accurate. And just
Mhm.
letting you know, because I don't know, it just came to my mind for somebody might not know that. At that time, this is Yah's declaration. I will be the Elohim of all the families of Israel, and they will be my people.
Mm.
This is what Yah says. The people who survived the sword found favor in the wilderness.
Mm.
So these are remnant people. They were left over. People
Mhm.
came over to kill, but they survived. They didn't get killed.
Revelation 3:10.
Yes. They found favor in the wilderness when Israel went to find rest. Yah appeared to him from far away. Wow. I like
Yes,
envision.
please,
I like
Father.
envision this stuff. Like Israel is going to find rest because Israel has been oppressed. Israel has been serving,
Persecuted, abandoned,
persecuted.
destroyed.
Yes. And so Israel, it says, when Israel went to find rest, Yah appeared to him from far away.
Who's him?
Think about that, Joel. When Israel went to find rest. So there's a time coming where they go, you know what? I'm done. I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to look for rest.
Yes. Now, I'm just wondering if this is a play on when it says Israel, is it talking about Israel, the person, Jacob, because I'm thinking, is there ever a time when Jacob went to find rest? Now, I know this is prophetic. It's talking. It's also, I believe, referring to the nation of Israel. But it's just come to my mind. And the reason I say that is because it says, when Israel went to find rest, Yah appeared to him. That's why I'm making that statement.
But who's him?
Israel.
Israel is a him.
Who's Israel?
I don't think Jacob went to find rest.
That's why I'm asking this question. Is there a time ever that
Oh, I understand.
Jacob find rest?
When he wrestled with the angel, was he going to find rest? I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't remember either. That's why I'm asking the question,
because that's when he met, and he got his hip touched. His hip went out of socket.
Okay, we're going to do just one thing real quick. I'm just going to look and see if there's any verses, cross references.
For what?
Hey, did you hear Abby?
What did she say?
He even made an altar and slept there.
Oh, and then that's when he had the dream
yeah.
of the cherubim and the ladder.
And he had a dream of the cherubim. That's right.
That is so at Jacob's ladder, that's what came to my mind. But I'm like, did he go there to find rest? Is that the reason?
He was running away from his brother.
Yeah, that's when he was running away from his brother. So okay, this is amazing. That's even better. Should we go there real quick, or?
Yeah, let's go. I want to get a full understanding.
Don't you?
I want to read. You're not letting me read at all.
No, because I be into it. Okay.
I mean, I want to know.
Okay. So that was the ladder, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jacob's ladder.
Genesis 28, verse 12 is where it's talking about the ladder. So let's go above that. Jacob, it says, Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. That's what we're just talking about that.
Yep.
And as arise, go to the house of Bethuel, my mother's father, take thee a wife from thence for the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother. Let me keep reading. Isaac went away to Jacob, okay, when Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Paddan Aram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, and that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and was gone from Paddan Aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. So far, Esau, he sees that Jacob is being obedient. So now he wants to do the opposite and rebel and take these wives from Canaan and Ishmael. It says, and Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted up on a certain place and tarried there all night because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it. And behold, Yah stood above it and said, I am Yah, Elohim of Abraham, thy father, and the Elohim of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. Thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with thee, and I will keep thee in all places where thou goest, and I will bring thee again into the land. I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, surely Yah is in this place, and I knew not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? There is none other but the house of God, or Bethel, and this is the gate of heaven.
What What does this dream have to do with what we're talking about? Yom
We're
Kippur?
looking to see if it has anything to do. And Jacob rose up early in the morning and took the stone that he had put for his pillows and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. He called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was called Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in the way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house, and all of that shall give me. I will surely give the 10th unto thee.
Unto thee. That means
So
it means you'll give
10%.
So that's not when he that's not when he wrestled with the angel,
No,
but
it's not.
but he did flee.
Yes.
He did flee, and to me it's like he's fleeing because he wants to find somewhere where he can set up and be safe.
Yeah.
And to me, safety and rest go synonymous, but maybe I'm wrong.
It, see, there's a few places like that story. Then you have this story where Jacob leaves to Canaan, where he's leaving Laban, and he's like fleeing Laban too, so he can get out of Laban's house.
Yes.
And then Laban is pursuing Jacob. And then there's also, we know when Esau, he's afraid of Esau, right here, Jacob's fear of Esau. So I'm not sure exactly which one. I'll have to study this in more detail to find out for sure. But the point is, where did it go? Where were we at? We were at
Hebrews.
Jeremiah.
Oh no, Jeremiah 31:31.
Yeah, Jeremiah. Where did it go?
I don't remember that.
Right here. No, that's not it. Okay, let's just go back to it.
Remember.
Jeremiah 31:31.
Jeremiah 31.
Oh, I said 32.
Oh.
Okay. So
you were still reading everything though.
Yes. I was just saying where did I leave? I think I was reading it in a different version. That's why it looks different. Yeah, here. When Israel went to find rest. So when Israel went to find rest, Yah appeared to him from far away. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, I have continued to extend faithful love to you. So I'm sorry. There's one more thing I want to do. I want to look and see if this is a quote from somewhere, because that might help us tell. That might help tell us when this happened.
Well, yeah. Well, you got to show me how you do that. I don't know how to see if something's a quote.
I mean, is it referred to in the Old Testament anywhere? Like, did
Have I loved
Yah
you? I
say
love you with
that?
an everlasting love.
Yeah, is that the only place where it says that?
No,
That's what
I
I
know
mean.
there's a scripture that says that. I've loved you with an everlasting love, but I think that's in the Brit Hadashah.
Okay, yep, okay. So let's keep going because I don't know. I don't know about this one, but that's gonna be on my mind until I figure it out.
Yeah, you're going to look at all the instances.
Yeah.
What's up?
So let's go back though. Jeremiah 30. Okay.
So where are you reading?
I'm reading verse 3. I have loved you with an everlasting love, therefore I have continued to extend faithful love to you. Again, I will build you so that you will be rebuilt, virgin Israel. Wow, he's calling Israel virgins. And we know we have foolish virgins and we have wise virgins.
That's not the only place it says virgins.
That's right.
Huh?
Not right now. You will take up your tambourines again and go out in joyful dancing.
Mm.
So, a virgin is someone who has not served another god.
Mhm.
This is someone who's been faithful. Okay, you'll take up your tambourines again and go out in joyful dancing. You will plant vineyards again on the mountains of Samaria. The planters will plant and will enjoy the fruit. He's saying again because the Israelites did this at one point, but now they haven't been able to do that, but it's going to happen again. It says, "For there will be a day when watchmen will call out in the hill country of Ephraim." They'll say, they're going to say, "Come, let us go up to Zion, to Yah, our Elohim." But this is what Yah says: "Sing with joy for Jacob, shout for the foremost of the nations, proclaim praise and say, Yah, save your people, the remnant of Israel."
You're locked up.
Watch, I am going to bring them from the northern land. I will gather them from remote regions of the earth. The blind and the lame will be with them, along those who are pregnant and those about to give birth. They will return here as a great assembly. So now we see the gathering of Israel from the nations, the northern land and the remote places. And then he says, with them is going to be people that are blind, people that can't walk, pregnant. Just because you have some health issues, that's not going to stop Yah from gathering you.
Yeah.
It's going to be a supernatural gathering that even the people that can't walk are somehow going to get there. They will come weeping, but I will bring them back with consolation.
What is that word, consolation?
Supplications. So, well, let's look it up. So, the comfort received by a person after a loss or disappointment.
Wow.
Person providing comfort to. But some
Lexicon?
No, not lexicon, the Septuagint. That's what LXX is. It reads supplications. So either way, whether it's consolations or supplications, he's going to bring them back. I will lead them to wadis filled with water. Remember we were talking about in the desert, streams in the desert?
Yep.
Now he's saying it a different way. I'm going to lead them to wadis filled with water by a smooth way where they will not stumble. For I am Israel's father, and Ephraim is my firstborn. So we know Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim is considered the firstborn, even though he was the second.
Oh, you mean Ephraim, Joseph's son?
Yes, Joseph's son. Nations, hear the word of Yah and tell it among the far coasts and islands. Say, the one who scattered Israel will gather him. He will watch over him as a shepherd guards his flock. For Yah has ransomed Jacob and redeemed him from the power of one stronger than he. This is he's getting back his people. He's paid back. He's already paid the price. He's already paid the price for his people, for his bride. But now he's actually getting them, redeeming them. So he's paid it. He's paid the price, but we haven't seen the physical part happen yet. It says they will come and shout for joy on the heights of Zion. They will be radiant with joy because of Yah's goodness, because of the grain, the new wine, the fresh oil, and because of the young of the flocks and herds. Their life will be like an irrigated garden, and they will no longer grow weak from hunger.
Well,
then the young men will rejoice with dancing, while young and old men rejoice together. I will turn their mourning into joy, Give them consolation and bring happiness out of grief. Yeah. I will refresh the priests with an abundance,
Wow.
and my people will be satisfied with my goodness. This is Yah's declaration. So that's powerful. All this is happening at the end. This this hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen.
You know what's cool though? Because
Uh-huh.
we're in a kingdom. Usually, I don't know what you call the person. They're the ones that declare the word of the king, but the king himself is declaring the word. So if the king is doing it, there is so much more. It's like you can believe it. He's not sending someone to say it. He's saying it himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. This is what Yah says. A voice was heard in Ramah, a lament with bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children because they are no more. Wow. So Rachel is weeping because some of her children are gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of her children didn't make it.
Mm-hmm. And we know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel is part of Israel.
Yeah.
She's not the line of Messiah, but she's part of Israel. She's Benjamin and another one.
Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
And Diana. We don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about Diana, but Jacob did have a daughter too. Or Dinah. Is it Dinah or Diana?
Dinah.
Yeah.
D-I-N-A-H.
Yeah.
Dinah.
This is what Yah says. Keep your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for the reward of your work will come. This is Yah's declaration. And your children will return from the enemy's land. Wow.
See there? I'm holding on to that. Holding on to that. That's good stuff.
What?
He's like,
What'd you
don't
say?
worry. I got your kids.
Say it louder.
Has there been any instance in the history that Benjamin and Ephraim Manasseh's generations have been wiped out?
So I don't think it's saying that they're wiped out, meaning that they don't exist anymore. Like I believe what it is saying is that they're no more, they're scattered. They're not a people anymore in their minds. They're not there anymore. They've been destroyed. Because when you look at verse 16 says, keep your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for the reward of your work will come. This is Yah's declaration, and your children will return from the enemy's land. The people are no more because they're not a people. They don't even know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know who they are. They've been serving other gods. They've been doing what everyone else has been doing, So Yah is consoling Rachel, saying, don't weep. You've worked hard. Your reward's going to come. And eventually your children are going to come back from the enemy's land.
Rachel saying something, or Yah is saying something?
Yah is talking to Rachel. He's telling her, don't cry.
Why is she crying?
Because she doesn't see her children anymore.
Like what children?
Her is symbolically talking about, well, not really symbolic, it's literal, because they're her descendants, literal descendants as well. Saying that Rachel is weeping because her children aren't together. They're not a nation anymore, but they will be in the last days. They're returning. That's us. We're returning into a nation. We're coming in to recognize who we are.
Yep.
Okay.
You mean Joseph and Benjamin died? What do you mean they got destroyed?
No, not that they died, but that they don't know who they are anymore. They're not Joseph and Benjamin, but their children,
Mhm.
their descendants. Okay, verse 17. There is hope for your future. This is Yah's declaration, and your children will return to their own territory. I love reading it in this version.
Yeah, that's tight.
I have surely heard. Was somebody saying something?
No, I'm just laughing because I like
Okay.
it.
I have surely heard Ephraim moaning. You discipline me, and I have been disciplined like an untrained calf. Take me back so that I can return. For you, Yah, are my Elohim. So Ephraim was like, you've made me go through all of this oppression and slavery and all this stuff. And now I want you to take me back. I want to return to you. Now Ephraim is saying, you are my God. You are my Elohim. I'm forgetting all the paganism and all the other stuff. I want to come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, after my return, I felt regret. After I was instructed, I struck my thigh in grief. I was ashamed and humiliated because I bore the disgrace of my youth. He's like, man, I messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I made a lot of mistakes.
What did he return?
Return to Yah.
But why would he regret?
Because he made mistakes when he was younger. He
Like
did
he
not.
did stuff to get him in trouble.
Yeah.
He's sorry for it.
So isn't Ephraim a precious son to me, a delightful child? Whenever I speak against him, I certainly still think about him.
Or food.
Therefore, my inner being yearns for him. I would truly have compassion on him. This is Yah's declaration. Okay, now we're almost there. But I was like, I got to work my way up to 31:31.
Repentance and restoration.
Yes. Set up road markers for yourself. Establish signposts. Keep the highway in mind. Yeah, read, David.
Keep the highway in mind, the way you have traveled. Return, Virgin Israel. Return to these cities of yours.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Right now, Israel's not in those cities. He wants Israel to return. And I love this. Set up road markers because Israel has a tendency to forget.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Mm-hmm.
need reminders.
Yes.
So we can always go back to the path.
Yep. That's so true.
Keep the highway in mind. Wow.
What is
The way
highway?
there's a highway of holiness. Yes.
Keep the path.
Yeah.
We are definitely keeping that highway in mind.
Yes.
I'm gonna be on that. I'm gonna be able to walk on that highway. Not everybody will be able to get on that one.
And listen, I didn't notice this either. He says, "Return, virgin Israel."
Mm-hmm.
He's not talking about Israel that has whored themselves
Mm-hmm.
away.
He's talking about Virgin Israel.
What's virgin Israel, David?
Virgin Israel is the Israel who never worshipped any God.
That's right. That's right. So the ones that haven't strayed away, the ones that have been faithful, he's saying return to these cities of yours, because only those that have been faithful are going to be able to enter into the promised land. Those that rebel and do what they want to do, they're going to get purged out. Verse 22, how long will you turn here and there, faithless daughter? For Yah creates something new in the land. A female will shelter a man. Wow.
I don't even understand that one.
I have to look at that in Hebrew.
Oh, what's that? I don't understand.
That's in a Jewish wedding,
Mm-hmm.
the woman surrounds the man 7 times.
Oh, like Jericho? I know when my wife surrounds me 7 times and she shouts, the walls come. Oh, they come down.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
So a female sheltering a man. I hope this is what I think it is. Okay, no, it's shabab. I gotta see what this means. So revolve, surround, or border, used in various applications. So the woman surrounds uh the man, and 7 times in the marriage, and it's as if she's like a type of protection for the man. That's the concept of the Ezer Kenegdo, help meet. See, it's translated help meet, but the meaning it it doesn't mean help me. It's helper that opposes, and the Ezer is a military term. It's a helper, but it's a helper who aids you in war, and that's what the woman is.
Yes.
For her husband. So I mean that's what I'm reminded of when I read this scripture. When it says a female will shelter a man, he does something new. It's interesting. This is what Yah or Yahuwah Sabaoth, the God of Israel, says: when I restore their fortunes, because they lost their fortunes, they will once again speak this word in the land of Judah and in its cities. May Yah bless you, righteous settlement, holy mountain. Wow. Judah and all its cities will live in it together. Also farmers and those who move with the flocks.
We're farmers.
Yes, you are.
And we're Judah too.
Yep.
We're both.
Ugly Judah and farmers.
I'll explain later. For I satisfy the thirsty person and feed all those who are weak. At this I awoke and looked around. My sleep had been more pleasant to me. Look, the days are coming. This is Yah's declaration. When I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of people and the seed of animals. Just as I watched over them to uproot and to tear them down, to demolish and to destroy and to cause disaster, so will I watch over them to build and to plant them. This is Yah's declaration. In those days, it will never again be said, the fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge. What that means is the children are not going to suffer for the sins of the fathers. That's what this means when you look at this. It's a Hebrew idiom. It says, rather, each will die for his own iniquity. Anyone who eats sour grapes, his own teeth will be set on edge, meaning you're going to suffer for your own sins. Then it says, look, the days are coming. This is Yah's declaration when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Now, everything we've been reading up to this point has been talking about what it's going to be like in the wilderness and when we get to the land. Then he says, look, the days are coming. Yah's declaration when I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Now, this is significant. Just those two things alone are significant because right now there is no house of Israel per se. I mean, all of Israel is not united yet. You can't even call it Israel until we got all the tribes together. Next, it says, this one will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors on the day that I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant that they broke, even though I am their master or their husband. Yah's declaration. Instead, this is the covenant I will make with the house of Israel after those days.
So after the day of the Lord. Can't be that. After those days is referring to what?
After those days, I believe, is right before we enter the promised land. When we're in the see, he says, like in the verse before, he says, not like the covenant I made with their ancestors on the day I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt. So right after they left Egypt, it might have been like a month or two. That's when the covenant was made at Mount Sinai. After they left Egypt.
Yeah.
So they're in the wilderness at this point because the covenant has to be made, and they need to agree to this covenant right before they enter the land. So it says instead.
I know. In those days, that's the days of the wilderness where God says He's going to plead with us.
Yes. He said. Remember, He said, "I'm gonna bring you under the bond of the covenant."
Yes. Yep.
That's in the wilderness. He says, "I will put my teaching or my Torah or my law within them and write it on their hearts. I will be their Elohim and they will be my people."
Amen.
No longer will one teach his neighbor or his brother, saying, "Know Yah," for they will all know me, from the least to the greatest of them.
Yes.
This is Yah's declaration.
I keep on saying that thing.
Then, that means it's important for you to pay attention. If you keep saying it, that's what that means. It says, "For I will forgive their iniquity and never again remember their sin."
That's huge, because iniquity is something that you keep doing all the time that you can't stand doing. You know you hate it and you keep doing it. That's iniquity. He said, yes. I'm going to forgive that and never remember it again.
Yes.
That's huge.
So the reason I asked, this new covenant, are we there yet? Because we see the conditions of the covenant. The first one is, he says he's going to make it with two houses, Israel and Judah. Second one, he says, I'll put my Torah within them and write it on their hearts. I'll be their God. They'll be my people. Then he says, no longer will you need to teach your neighbor, saying, "Know Yah," for everybody's going to know me, from the least to the greatest. So I was talking with Donald last night about this, because there's passages of scripture that make you think, okay, we're in the new covenant. But when I read this passage of scripture, it's like I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
What I mean, the best way I can understand it up to this point, because I admit I don't know this, but my best understanding of this point is just kind of like some other things in the scriptures, just like we're born again. So when we were born again, we've already been born again spiritually. We're different people than when we were before we were born again. But we haven't received our bodies yet.
Yeah.
So no one can know that we've been born again physically just by physically looking at us. It's only because of what's on the inside.
Yeah.
When I look at this new covenant, I'm wondering, I don't know. I'm wondering if it's kind of the same thing, because he says, "I'll write the Torah on your hearts." Well, in a way, I feel like the Torah is written because he speaks to us. The Spirit is speaking to us.
Yeah.
and that's greater than the law written on tablets of stone. That's much better. That's I mean, we get instructions directly from the king every day.
Mm.
And that's how he wants us to live. But the physical part of the covenant, because remember, the covenant comes with some promises, some
Mm-hmm.
physical promises. We get in land,
Yep.
and we're gonna be blessed in that land, and all the nations gonna bless us. That hasn't happened yet. So I'm that's the best way I'm understanding this so far. It's like it's been fulfilled in part, just like when we're born again.
Yeah.
But I'm just throwing that out there because
Yeah. I see based off of scripture what you're talking about.
Oh,
And the main time Yeshua was referring to the new covenant, it's kind of taking you back to this Jeremiah.
yes,
So they could very much be attached. And so what you are possibly insinuating is that we are still under the old covenant or the law, if you choose to be under the law when you don't know. But we are not living under the law because we know that Christ or Messiah is the end of the law. And because we are in him and he's in us, we're under that order of
yes,
Melchizedek, awaiting the time of the new covenant
yes,
that he makes.
yes. That's the good point. That's a good point because Christ it says Christ is the end of the law or the Torah. The Torah that was given by Moses is what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is the end of that for them that believe.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already been redeemed. The blood has already
Yes.
been shed. We've already been purchased. Like I was saying earlier, he's already paid the price.
Yeah.
But we still haven't seen the physical manifestation or benefits or consequences of that
Mm-hmm.
from the standpoint of us being in the land and all that, because we're stuck in these bodies in time.
Yeah.
But in the spiritual realm, it's already done. The
Yeah.
lamb has already been slain.
Yeah.
He's already been. Yom Kippur happened in heaven. The
Yes.
atonement happened. Um, I ain't even reading none of that, but I don't. I think that's good for tonight.
Oh.
I'll read one more verse because I really wanted to read that part. Just the part where it talks about here. So it
Yom
says
Kippur.
David wants to
just
read.
about it being a copy. It says
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know
It
that
says,
one.
therefore, it is necessary for the copies of the things in the heavens to be purified with these sacrifices, but the heavenly things themselves to be purified with better sacrifices than these. For Christ did not enter a sanctuary made with hands, only a model of the true one, but into heaven itself, so that he might now appear in the presence of God for us. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's good. I'll stop there because
What's the one about Yom Kippur?
all of this is Yom Kippur.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
Because
saying you were missing the scripture.
no, I was saying that all of this whole chapter because this is what it says. Like when we were in the church, all this
Mm-hmm.
went completely over our heads. Hold on. It says, but Christ has appeared as a high priest of the good things that come in the greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands. And then it says, verse 12, he entered the most holy place once for all time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the high priest does on Yom Kippur. He only can
Yes.
enter into the holy place one
Oh,
time.
okay.
So
Okay.
I wanted to go through this whole chapter and really break
Mhm.
it down, but I mean, it's already been like 2 hours, so I don't want to take up too much time.
They used to do the Bible study every day. That's what I heard. So You know,
Yeah.
that ain't nothing but a thing.
Yep.
I don't have football. I don't have basketball. I don't have any of this stuff. All I have is the word. So we can get into the word as much as you want. I don't care. Like I said, I
Okay.
ain't going to work.
Okay. Well, this is what I used to do on Yom Kippur. We
Really?
used to me and my Jewish friend. He would invite a whole bunch of people,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be eventually all the women would go do their thing, but all the guys would stay at the table, and we'd be going through the Torah all night. I mean, not leaving till like 3, 4, or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Well, Joel,
That's
haven't.
what we do on Yom Kippur. That's what we do.
Wow, that's what's up.
Because
So
we're not eating, so the word is our food.
yeah, what, honey? When G said, when was that?
That was I mean, we did that for about 5. I think we knew Aria, those guys, for about 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, it had to
So
be after 2015.
it was while you guys were in the Philippines. Um,
Wow.
I met my friend Aria. He just moved to Arizona. We
Okay.
visited him last year, but yeah, he in Eatonville. He has this beautiful home. Like, oh my gosh, beautiful
Wow.
cabin, wood cabin home on like 5 acres. He's got like
Wow.
horse tracks, and we bring out the grill
Wow.
and and then and he's a rabbi too, so we would go so deep into the scriptures. He's a rabbi who believes in Yeshua,
Wow.
so
That's a game changer.
it was great. I really miss him.
Wow. Yeah, Joe, I don't know nothing about that. I mean, we stayed up till 9, 10 o'clock, not no 3 o'clock. But I do know when the scriptures are revealed, that's a beautiful thing. That's you get filled up.
Yep.
Like this week when we did the Bible study with Rachel and them and Canaan and the Edomites, I didn't know I was doing that, and I was getting so filled up studying that and going, "Oh my goodness, look at the separation." So
Mm-hmm.
it's straight. It's straight. So tomorrow we're gonna do Bible study again, and I want to see this stuff you're talking about. And then we're gonna do it Friday. I'm probably gonna pick a couple of names of God, of Yah, because I don't want to say God.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to show Lord. So I'm going to look at what you said, because if it's really Baal, that's huge. You
and,
know.
and and I read a scripture, I think last Bible study. I think that's the reason I brought it up, because the scripture I was reading about when we're in the wilderness, he
Mhm.
says, "I'm going to take the names of Balaam out of your mouth." It's like he's saying, "I'm going to take
Wow.
the name Lord out of your mouth."
Wow. And the fact that he told Israel, "Call me El Shaddai," that was huge.
Yes.
I was like, what? So yeah, I'm excited. I'm making basically templates for when the Holy Spirit goes, all right, you can go. And then we're gonna study real deep. We have our foundations. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, uh y'all have a good night. Tell Rhea we said we love her. Have a good night. I heard her in the background for a second.
Yeah, she's in bed now, but yeah, she was with us most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Are you in the RV?
Yeah.
Okay, that's really nice because it looked like you in a room for real.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
backdrop. I was like, where in the world are they?
No, these are the blinds. It's the window right here.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice, man. G is talking about if when I pass this class, if I can get a job, I'm going to get a job. And then we are going to work both remote, and then we'll probably start driving and living out of the car.
Oh, okay.
Yes, for several months, we'll probably drive. We might drive to Texas. You know, you never know. Good stuff
It's
happens.
it's great because like when you're already on the move, like if you ever decide I don't want to do this no more, well you just go back to a place. It's not you're not
Yeah,
stuck. It's really flexible.
I love my job, but
Wait,
I don't want to be at McKinsey no more. I'm tired of the music. I'm tired of the job is great. I love my job. That's not
okay.
it.
Yeah,
It's
Mommy, Benji's
they're
asking,
celebrating the solstice. That is still getting to me.
do you have a
So,
Mm-hmm.
and they're celebrating Halloween. I
Oh.
don't want to be a part of these pagan crap.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. It's all good. Hey, y'all have a good night.
All right, you
See
too.
y'all. All right, we'll see
Okay.
you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.